This is Chin Music.
Oh, and ladies and gentlemen, what another day of Test cricket we've had today. We've got runs, we've got wickets, and now we've got Chin Music here on Fanatics TV, and I'm joined by Stephen O'Keefe. How are you, mate? What did you make of today?
Mate, I was out there today, Mo, and I found it last night. I mean, the whole day's play was amazing. Going at 5 and over, there were wickets, there were drop chances. I mean, there was night time. There's a bit of Sav Blanc as well, which is really good. It turned on a dime, didn't it? Starting with one thing I wanted to point out at the start of the day. Last night, Australia really did meander through their overs, didn't they? And we were discussing before we got on here that there is a rule or a law now in cricket that if you bowl a team out under 80 overs, if you're behind on the overrate, they become redundant. Is that right? Is that what you're...
That's as far as I'm aware. I was asking in the Shield game today about it because I just thought what Australia were doing last night was I didn't feel it was good for Test cricket. And then they told me about this rule that if you bowl them out, and this is a pretty new rule, I think it's come in whilst the Test Championship's been up and running. And it's to try and basically, I think they try to make like the penalties on overrates be a little bit more significant. But with that, then they're like, oh, well, if you take a lot of wickets, it means you're typically going to bowl, be a little bit slower. But, it's 2 or 3 minutes for a wicket.
Yeah.
It's, we're not talking losing 23 overs in a day. Because you've taken 10 wickets. If you lose 10 wickets, you might lose 5 overs.
It was funny because up on the board, it had Australia -8 at the start of the day. And I'm like, they're not -8. They're so far behind.
Yeah.
And it makes sense now after knowing that. I'm sure, again, Steve Smith, as you would know, he doesn't miss these things. He knows exactly what's going on. They bowled England out in 76.2 overs. And there's a couple of moments in that game, or in their innings in particular, where I felt like they really grabbed the opportunity. Like the last catch by Marnus is one of the best catches I've seen. It was hammered by Jofra. And only 2 balls before, because I was sitting on the western side of the field watching it, he was signalling to Smudge, 5 in more, to my left, to my right. And we always talk about having your best fielders in the right spot. Like Jordan Silk with the sixes, for instance, doesn't miss a beat. So Marnus sits at first slip, takes the catch off, to start the game off ducket, and then he's at deep backward square, knowing that's the hot spot. And this thing came like a tracer bullet. It was hit sweetly. During that game, Inglis gets the run out when nothing seems to be happening at Stokes. And then at the end of the game, Jofra looked pretty settled, to be honest. They only added 9 England, but, Marnus took the opportunity. Inglis took the opportunity. And all of a sudden, that's 330. It's only 9 more runs. Could have been a lot more. And then I look forward to the England team, and we'll get into it later, but there's probably 4 or 5 missed opportunities where...
It's extraordinary.
Yeah, it was a weird sort of state of play towards the back end of the game. But I just feel like Australia really took their chances, and it's not by coincidence, by design, I believe, anyway.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. I mean, yesterday, other than, that sort of slowing down period where it felt like we literally let the game meander on, but, we didn't have that same intensity, but that Inglis run out, that catch, is almost the opposite of what we saw. Not what I will say, it's not what we see in England's body language in the field, but in terms of their execution today, catching, they just dropped them. Whether it was pink ball, whether it was they weren't picked, and most of the catches other than Jamie Smith were at night, so maybe they're having problems picking up the ball, but. The execution was well off, but I just wanted to chip in and say, I just love the way they go about. I like the way Ben leads them around. They're just very positive. They're very vibey. And I know that doesn't mean you're going to win games, but watching, you're like, I want to play under Ben. I want to play cricket under Ben Stokes, and he just seems like that type of leader. There's that initial frustration, and I think we spoke about it earlier, Sock, when you sort of he got run out by, it probably wasn't one there anyway, but either way, he could have easily been fuming that Joe had sent him back. And he was initially, and like every batter would, but by the time he'd walked past Joe, which is literally less than 30 seconds later, he's giving him a tap on the arse and, mate, keep going. And, from like if you're that batter who's just been in that mix up, a lot of the time you can be left out there feeling like rotten. But if the captain gives you a tap on the arse on his way out, that would be very reassuring, no matter how experienced you are, whether you're Joe Root or whether you're Zach Crawley or Ollie Pope. That would be very reassuring. And he's been doing that with all of his bowlers for the last 2 tests as well. I just like the way they go about their business. But I mean, if you want to be in the hunt to win this game, like they could have bowled, they've created enough opportunities now today, and they just haven't taken them. So,
yeah, no, same feeling about Stokes. Like I'm amazed at how he just keeps getting himself up. He's on his haunches. I think Joe Root come over to speak to him. I don't know whether he's telling him to bring an offie on, but the next over he knocked over Josh Inglis, which was like, you just know that he's putting in every ball. And I got a sense, even being at the game, Atkinson was running in 100%. Cass, got taken down a little bit, but he found a way to bounce back, end up with 3 wickets. And, Jofra Archer, although we'll judge him harshly because we expect a lot from him, he starts his spells a bit ordinary, not Mitchell Stark-like. His first over the game was down leg side. His second or third spell is slow. Steve Smith's ramping him. But he still created chances. He could have had Inglis out if Smith had taken the keeper had taken the chance and Cass dropped one off Neeson. So he could have looked a lot different. So England are up for the fight, and it is hard. And on your point, Mo, I was like, is it the pink ball under lights? And I went back. There's 24 day-night tests. Australia have played 13 or 14. England have played 7. And it is tricky, right? Like, we look at these chances and we think, they should be taken. We're watching the game, but it's unique. It's day-night test cricket. It's not the same as what these players are used to. And I'm not trying to give them a way out. I'm just saying it's not as simple as taking one in the middle of the day, that's head height. So England have fought missed opportunities. They're going to really rue. It puzzled me still, though, going to the Australian innings. There was 4 partnerships of 50 plus, actually 5. The last partnership was 50 as well. But some of the dismissals, like Cam Green, like we had him on the right, 3 for 291, and then Cameron Green gave away stumps, and then gets away. Like, what did you make of a few of the Aussie dismissals?
I mean, that one in particular was a tough one to watch. And you can argue if you can. Look, I hit a few boundaries back and away, slapping them through the offside, and he's living by the sword, died by the sword, and all that sort of jazz. But God, thankfully we've put on a couple of partnerships. But if we got rock and rolled after that, and Greg Shippard was our coach, and that started the rot. Oh my God! I don't like.
Don't walk up the tunnel. Yeah, don't walk up the tunnel.
Do not walk up the tunnel.
Yeah.
Cam Green would be 6 inches shorter by the next day. I don't know. It's an interesting, to give away your stumps like that, irrelevant of the balls that have come around previous. I can understand a little bit of space, and we saw Carey. We even saw Carey doing it, and I know he's 45 not out, but his first 20 balls, I was kind of I was sitting there watching, going, well, what's going on here? What
about his first ball? We talk about moments of the game. Green goes, Smith goes. They go in the space of 1 run. Carey, gives away his stumps, opens up his front leg, and it balloons to duck it. I'm like, you're a batter. Is this something you're talking about? They're going to bang it in, give your stumps away. It seemed like an obvious plan, but it's so unconventional.
Oh, look, that catch. Firstly, we can put the other catches down to the pink ball and whatever, but that lolly popped over to him, and I know he had to dive and it was a little low, but by the time the ball hit his hands, that would have been going at about 4 kilometers an hour. The other one, the one later off Inglis, I think off Stokes, was probably, if you Mark Waugh in the commentary, you say everything should be taken, but you can understand that one. It's a bit more of a reaction. It's low down to your right. As we said, it's the pink ball. He hasn't got as much time, but that first one off Carey, that was a real sit of that. And I don't know, you talk about, best fielders, right places to have 2 catches go down there. I've seen Zach Crawley running around on the third man and fine leg boundary. Ollie Pope, who's a wicket keeper, running down it behind the keeper at deep backing up. What do you call that position behind there? Like,
I don't know. You used
yeah,
to
the
hide me all
backup.
the time down there before where the ball doesn't go. But, you'd think Zach Crawley is your biggest fielder and player, should be in those hot spots, and he's barely touching a ball. But he's always going over to Duck and having a conversation after he's dropped a catch. And you're like, why is he not in that spot? You cover so much space. You've seen great fielders like, well, not great yet, but Cameron Green, you can cover more area if you're a big fella.
Yeah.
Zach Crawley's got good hands. Just missed a trick. They're trying hard. The execution, is where they're missing out on. And it's costing them. They're 44 runs behind. The game could have had a completely different complexion, during the night. Michael Nisa, Mo, as we know, he's got 5 first-class centuries. He's a guy who can bat. What do you think is like a score that Australia would be happy with, going into the next innings, given how this wicket can play? Do we, 150 and you'd be pretty comfortable? To me, it seems about that much. I would have thought. Yeah,
if they can get 100 ahead, anything over 100 ahead, I'd say they'd be reasonably happy. Which could have been 160 and 170 ahead if, we bowled them out yesterday for 270. But 100 ahead, they'll be reasonably happy, I think. And, it's game on and Australia in a pretty good position. But we've discussed, you're batting number 8 in a test match under lights. You first walk out to bat, you're facing Jofra Archer, and you walk out and there's not a slip in place. And you nick 2 through the slips before
Michael
get to 15.
Michael Nisa couldn't believe his luck. You're walking out there and this guy hasn't played Test cricket for a while. It's as tough as it gets. And there is no first slip in to Jofra Archer, who's your main strike weapon. His first ball is a power to puff half volley, 129 Ks. And Stokes, who's just bent his back, has to chase the ball at mid-on. If you wanted to sum the day up in the juxtaposition of one bloke versus the other, a guy can only bowl 135 busting his ass, and then you got Jofra just easing into his work. If it's not now, when is it for him? I feel like he's had 3 or 4 opportunities, and Smith exploited it beautifully. I think, at the start of the day, he bowled the quickest ball, right, Jofra? 146.7 Ks. It was rapid. Watching the side, you're like, this is what this guy can do. That's his potential for the day. And then as the overs, his spells increased, Smith, dodged, ducked and weaved. His first ball was a bumper. Jofra's follow through was, long and in his face and all that. And then about his third spell, he's bowling a Smudge, and Smudge gets the first ball at about 130 Ks, pulls 1 for 4. And then the next one, I've barely seen Smudge play this shot, just uppercut for 6, knows it's a bumper. It's almost like he's reading this guy's game plan, and it's 130. And you feel like, Jofra starts here and then it just sort of tails off where you really want him going that way, up. Even at 130, he still creates 3 chances, but he's your linchpin of this team. And I don't know, walking off, I'm looking at Stokes trying his backside off, the catch, out there by Jacks, the effort, the energy from Atkinson. They're running around the field, and then you've got your guy that's got the ball in his hand at the moment, and he's just letting it go. And I'm like, if he's not going to do it now, when is he going to do it?
Yeah, I don't know. I really, you mentioned Gus Atkinson there. I really felt for him. I feel like he actually bowled pretty well. Again, and Alex Carey had a bit of a brain fade, run down at him, got the nick, and then sort of in between the keeper and first slip. And I don't think either of them were really expecting it. And we see Joe Root throw a hand out last second, but he's bowled a really nice length there for 4 or 5 overs, got the nick. And then literally the next ball, Cares plays one of the most beautiful cover drives on the up through 4. And then the next over, a couple of, again, technically just beautiful shots, just pierce, to the right of mid-off and left of cover for a left-hander, just perfect, like Michael Hussey, just beautiful technique, cover drive. But they weren't bad balls. They're just on the up, almost the same ball that got the nick that, it's why you bowl that length, is to entice that drive, so you can get a nick. And when that nick doesn't get taken, it bloody hurts when the next 3 go for 4, it's just tough. But I just feel for him, because I feel like out of all their bowlers, he's run in, he's bowled nice areas. He hasn't had a great deal of luck yet. But I think if he can hold his head up high and sort of keep turning up day after day, I think I think he's got the stuff to deliver here in Australia. But yeah, the other interesting thing, that matchup that I think ever since that Ashes in England, everyone has that, Jofra and Steve Smith, they've got this showdown. I know he hit him in the head, but he hasn't got him out yet in Test cricket.
No.
He's bowled almost 50 overs to him. He's none for 120 or whatever it is. And that's not a showdown.
No.
You need at least one wicket for it to be you can bounce him, you can do that. But unless you're actually going to get the batter out or threaten to get him out, and as you said there, it's like Steve knows, I've just got to get through a spell and then I can score some runs later on. It's going to be fast for a little while, and then there might be some opportunities later. And I think that's a little bit to do with his body as well. He hasn't played a great deal of 4 and 5 day cricket. Over the last few years, he's played a lot of short form cricket, a lot of T20 cricket. So I'm going to say from a physical point of view, it'd be very hard for a bowler to, they always say you can't run a marathon before you do a marathon. And it's, you can't really practice Test cricket.
Five in a row.
Yeah, exactly. You've just got to play it and adapt on the run. And unfortunately, him and Wood, they hadn't played a whole heap of 4 or 5 day cricket leading into this. And Jofra's that good that you've just got to sort of, maybe over 16 to 20 aren't going to be his best, but we need him for the first 15 anyway. It's going to be better than our next guy. So, that would be that would be the logic there, I feel. And he's, as you said there, he's high class. It's hard work. It's going to be bloody hard work to get through his first 10 overs. But Smudge, he's just going to wear him down. He's just going to, and that's what he can do, and that's what But if that, I would typically go, that's what Marnus and Steve are going to do. But even I feel like this Australian team's just got caught up in baseball a little bit today.
Mate, I totally agree with that. Do you think it's a day of missed opportunities, Mo? Because both teams are going at 5 and over, and the Carey one was highlighted to me when he ran down the wicket and he nicked one and should have been caught, and then the next 2 ones he's just playing genuinely good cricket shots. I'm like, why do you have to give yourself that play risky that way when you've got that in the tank? And same with Cameron Green, he started his innings off with a beautiful cover drive. It was forward pressing, backward pressing, all looked really good, and then you see his dismissal on 45, and you're like, are we caught up in baseball? Because the dismissals are a bit strange, and the opportunities we're giving them almost seems like these guys aren't even giving themselves an opportunity in a sense.
It was strange watching, I think when Stokes was bowling to Inglis there at the end and then to Nesser, and they just let a few balls go, around fifth, sixth stump on the up. And you see sort of Ingo let a cover drive go. You're like, what's just happened? What's just happened in Test cricket? A batter's let a ball. It's boring. But no, it's just now letting a ball go, on the up through fifth and sixth stump is the variable. It's the thing that you're not expecting when you're watching Australia and England play Test cricket. But I feel like typically that's not really, that's not what we describe as, how we've played over the last few years, especially with the way that, I guess Marnus and Smudge try and absorb and then sort of counterpunch. And you can definitely say Travis bats that way, and maybe Davey did before. But I would say the rest of the Australian batters, they're a lot more sort of traditional style cricketers, and I feel like we're just getting a little bit caught up, or maybe the emotion's just running hot. Who knows?
Well, I mean, the tail of the tape is this. Travis had 33 or 43. Jake Weatherald, 72. We haven't even mentioned him. I mean, that's pretty impressive for a bloke who's, only playing his second test. He looked really comfortable, I thought, and played, a really nice innings. Got a nice one from Jofra. 65 for Marnus off 78. He's found his groove. Smudger, 61 off 85, striking at 75. That's big. Cameron Green, 45, 46. So a lot of starts for the Aussies. Nisa not out on 15. Alex Carey on 46. Last thoughts, Moe. How do you see tomorrow playing out?
Well, I love the way you described it as a day of missed opportunities, and I know Shea going to be pretty happy going in, but there'd be a lot of batters that are in the shed there that have gone. I've thrown away a Joe Root 138 not out, and come in tomorrow, and we can have a 250 run lead, rather than 100's okay. And that's if we're being ultra nitpicky. If we're being get more than 100 ahead, you should win. But if we're talking Australia at their best versions of themselves, I'm sure there'll be a few batters in there knowing a lot of those guys they'd be very hungry for a lot more runs than what they're. And as you said there's a lot of really nice batting performances. But I reckon there'll be some hungry batters in the sheds tonight thinking, I left some out there. But tomorrow, I hope we can, I hope Ness and Cares can just absorb a little bit for half an hour. Get their bowlers look really sore tonight. So absorb for half an hour, 40 minutes, and then pile on after that.
Yep.
Cash in, bat for as long as you can. I'm not in any rush. Take it till after lunch. Take the new ball. Bowl with a slightly harder ball under lights tomorrow night. If we get that far, that'd be a great result for Australia. But I just don't see that happening, Sock. The way this Test series is going, the way these days are going, it's an absolute roller coaster.
Yep, and I'm loving it, to be honest. You know, 5 runs and over, 370 in a day. You're sitting here trying to talk cricket with people and you sound like an absolute bozo because you've got no idea what's going on. Bowling a spinner, Will Jack's bowled 1 over for 9, so, it's almost vindicated that you don't need one when the game moves at this pace. So, good summation, Mo. I think tomorrow, that's the beauty of Test cricket. Both teams get to have a good night's sleep, rest on it and come back and maybe make the most of those opportunities. That's it for day 2 of Chin Music, Moe. I don't know what we're going to talk about tomorrow, but I'm sure it's going to be bloody entertaining. Maybe we get a bit of input from the listener or the viewers. Maybe we can answer a few questions, but loving it. Fanatics TV on YouTube. Moe, it's been a pleasure.
Thanks, Socky. See you tomorrow.
See you tomorrow.
That was Chin Music. Like and subscribe for more.